Hey, I'm Justus from C Products Defense, and we decided to do another one of these videos where we go on the road and hang out with one of our good friends. Today we've got Gabe from Rosco Manufacturing. We're going to talk about guns, barrels, gang stuff, and mags, I guess.
We're going to jump you into the barrel gang.
Ooh. All right, so give me the short and sweet or the long and the hard about what Rosco Manufacturing is as a whole and what you do for that company.
All right. Rosco Manufacturing's been a OEM barrel manufacturer now for around 9 years. Chances are, if you've bought a rifle in factory form, we've worked with that manufacturer to make their barrels for them. We also have very huge military contracts, even some SOCOM contracts. And around 2017, the owner had a concept of, hey, look, we've been doing this for so long for the private sector. I think we really have something to offer for the commercial end. And we partnered up. I presented them with a plan that I felt made sense, and ever since then, the company's been growing by leaps and bounds. A lot of support from you guys. Can't thank you enough. And a lot of the products that we've come out with come from direct intel on other projects that we've done. Things we've suggested to those manufacturers that can better their products. Obviously, for contract pricing reasons, they've decided not to go with it, or their criteria in the moment. So that's where the bloodline, the purebred family came from. I'm the marketing and sales director for the company, but I started the commercial side from scratch in 2017. And more often than not, if there's something Rosco, I'm the person heading that up.
Yeah.
And obviously, we've worked together a little bit on the back end.
Yeah, man.
But we started off with offering barrels, and then seeing how we're builders ourselves, and we built all of our test guns ourselves. We, think as the consumer. We always try and keep that two-way communication going with them. But we started thinking, well, what else can we offer that's not just gimmicky, that's not been overdone by other barrel manufacturers? So we started offering the peripheral accessories that made sense, and the sauce packs came to be. So the sauce packs came about because we started looking at things that we can offer. We had a really good successful run with the accessories that SLR started making for us, and we started offering our own BCGs. You
guys actually manufacture your complete bolt carrier group, correct?
Yes, and we also manufacture them. That's how it ended up coming about for another big contract manufacturer, and that one has to be, that is mil-spec, that
right.
carrier that we make. Obviously we can't divulge who we make stuff for on the back end, but just to give you an idea, you can't get more mil-spec than that one carrier. We have one that we provided for the civilian side that doesn't need to be as mil-spec central. We can offer certain coatings that people prefer over phosphate. Mm-hmm. Some people don't want it chrome lined. There's some materials that work perfectly for the applications on the commercial side. We will offer a mil-spec line. We get that request a lot, whether it be barrel or BCG.
Yeah.
So you'll see that at some point. But it was very easy at that point because we started matching all the components to our barrels, right? This is the main bread and butter of the gun. It's always been said, and it's always the first thing that gets blamed.
So that's what gets me so excited about the sauce pack, man, because you've got all the integral parts. This is the heart of the gun. You want super efficient gas. Everything is nice and tight and designed to run in conjunction with each part.
Yep.
And like I said, that gets me going.
It's just building a better mousetrap. That's all it is, right?
Yeah.
If you guys are car guys and you understand how force induction works, it's not that different. And you want to get 100% of that recirculated, air back into the intake manifold. Same concept. We don't have to overgas our barrels because we build them right from the get, right? So we size the gas ports appropriately. We have our own internal formula for length, caliber, and need, right? And then seeing how our gas blocks sit nice and tight on the journal, because they were designed for our barrels. we just started seeing the writing on the wall, and that's where the sauce packs came from. And then from there, because of our heavy background in building our own stuff and having different types of armor certifications, we partnered up with American Defense, who was already using our barrels for their law enforcement guns, and they made a line of rails and uppers for us, which is the first time they've ever done that for anybody outside of their own company. This one that you're seeing right here is proprietary to us. This is a 13-inch rail that works perfectly with a 13.7.
Oh, okay.
So you can kind of see the clearance right there.
Yeah.
It'll work with the suppressor, as you can see right now. So any type of muzzle devices that are quick disconnects on suppressors, it'll work perfectly. So the 13-inch is proprietary to us. You can find it on our website or through one of our distributors. And then the culmination of all these partnerships and knowledge and just background behind working on these things and turning wrenches led us to offer the URGs, our upper receiver groups. So far, we've offered them in 10.5 Bloodline, 16-inch Purebred. Aaron Cowan from Sage Dynamics did a very good review on those, showed the capabilities of them. And then here recently, we're about to launch, you guys are the first to see this actually, we're about to launch a 13.7 URG with the same setup that you see here and a 12.5 Bloodline.
Oh, nice.
And all that comes from direct feedback from our customers. We do, I think, a pretty good job of establishing that two-way communication via social media, DMs, emails, phone calls. You know, we actually jot down what customers are asking for, and pretty often we pose a question on social media and just kind of see what people are thinking, and it blows up. Obviously, there's always going to be that oddball request. Oh, I want a barrel for my Krag. Mm-hmm. You know, we're only going to make one, and it might cost $3,000. So
can you guys make me 10 infield mags? That would be great. In 308, not 303. But that's cool, man. So, okay, I like the 13.7 a lot. I really like 12.5. Are you guys going to do the same kind of overall look and vibe with the 12.5? So, carbine length gas and like a 12-inch handguard specifically?
So, we just launched 3 new handguards. This happens to be one of them. We launched a 7-inch. We have a 10.75 inch, and then we have a 13-inch. We phased out our 13.5 because with a 14.5 and a 13-inch rail, you're still getting the clearance that you need.
Yeah.
And it was just killing it at 13.7. You really couldn't use it. So again, listening to our customers, we kind of bit the bullet and we said, you know what, phase them out. Let's get with ADM. ADM didn't have a need for a 13-inch rail, so we just made it for ourselves. And that's where we're at right now. So the 12.5 will be using our 10.75 handguard, and the reason why, it works from 11.5 all the way up to whatever you want.
It makes sense.
And it gives you enough clearance for cans for whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
So, and a 12.5 inch barrel with a 10.75 handguard still looks really, really sweet.
Oh, I'm sure it does.
Yeah, it's very clean. One of our pro shooters, John Dufresne from Kinetic Consulting, Mocha Bear, some people know him as, he's running a 12.5 right now. He's been field testing that one for us. We invited Aaron Cowan from Sage Dynamics and Tom Marshall from Recoil Magazine up to Rosco not too long ago to build not just those 12.5 URGs, but for the upcoming Sage Dynamics signature barrel.
Nice.
And that was running the same type of system, just different barrel. And they tested those up there. And well, you can check Tom Marshall's social media page as well as Sage Dynamics. They've been running those. Mm-hmm. And then on the 12.5 train, we made the barrel for the Sage Dynamics signature gun through Sons of Liberty Gunworks.
Yeah.
So that was 12.5 has been a big thing for us. We've really knocked that one out of the park. We're very thankful for the support on that one.
Super cool collaboration too. I mean, everything.
Amazing.
Not only does it just look fantastic, but I mean, it's just some really cool companies coming together. You know, everybody making like a purpose-built rifle that's just, you know, right out of the box. It's going to be gold.
Yeah, and you know, Sons of Liberty, we had to earn that trust, rightfully so. They know their stuff, man, and they're very particular about what they're going to put out there. And you know what? That's protecting their brand and their customer. And we're on board with that. But we really had to earn that trust, and to have Aaron, you know, be on board with that as well was just a big knockout for us. So keep an eye on that one. We're still trying to push that one out Q3 of this year. Obviously, COVID has pushed a lot of things back, and it's actually blown up production need for a lot of the other stuff we're making. So be patient with us. We got a lot of other cool things coming out.
Yeah, all of our new releases got pushed because we had to, you know, double down on the doubling down that we already did prior to this huge demand spike that, you know, COVID-19 hit us with, and it's just been. Everybody's asking, like, well, where's the new products? And I was like,
I know.
We can't even make enough of the old ones. Like, we got to fill those. We got to fill that demand.
That's the issue. So that's twofold. So one, people get you know, they get a little bit upset because they go to our website and we're out of stock. Well, we feed our dealers first.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just ethical.
And that's important.
Yeah, they sent POs, they gave us money, we give them product. That's how it works. And we do a pretty good job about pushing people to our distributors because that's the whole point of our model. And two, I'd rather hold off on a new product and make sure my old product is stocked before I launch a new product and I don't have enough of that new product and it goes out of stock anyway within 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then you're still pissed because both products are out of stock. So it makes sense in the end. And if you guys trust us, so far I think we've been able to build a deep enough rapport where you kind of trust us on certain things. It'll make sense when we launch those new products. Yeah.
Cool. So what specifically, extra vague question, and you answer this however you want, what makes you guys special? What makes your barrels and your equipment spectacular or, unique in its own way?
I mean, that's a pretty fair question. We get it quite a bit. And it's, it's one that we answer very, very honestly, but without really having to single out other manufacturers. Because at the end of the day, let's be honest, it's free market. Other folks are working their butts off too. They got families to feed. We're all in this game together. We can all eat off the same plate.
We believe in let the product speak for itself.
Bingo.
And the consumer will make its own decision. Let them spend their money and make their decisions. Let them make mistakes, and try and do your best to guide them in the right direction. But at the end of the day, let it speak for itself.
And that's exactly the model. And that's why we're so heavy-handed about doing our own media and getting the actual information out there and letting the customer be the judge. But engineering practices and things that we have decided to do in-house that we know for a fact that other barrel makers aren't doing. Just the fact that we make our blanks in-house ourselves knocks out maybe 65-70% of the competition.
Yeah.
And then the fact that we make our own barrel extensions in-house as well, about 90% of the competition is right off the table at that point.
I think that's an important distinction and lesson for the consumer to know. So, education alert right here.
Yeah.
That's what differentiates a barrel maker from a barrel brand, in my opinion.
You couldn't have said it better.
I mean, obviously, the barrel itself, but making the blanks, from start to finish, from blank to actual finished product, and not to mention, the thing that's so overlooked, and you hear me preach about this all the time, and I'm sure you're already tired of it, but the barrel extensions. Those feed ramps are so key and so overlooked. They have to be consistently manufactured, and they have to be the right geometry, the right angle, and the right everything to make sure that gun feeds perfect every time. It's not just up to the magazines.
And they're not easy to make.
Exactly.
They're not easy to make at all because of our military contract. We make them in-house, which allowed us to do it for everything else. But, with barrels, you can run multiple operations in one machine. Mm-hmm. With extensions, not the case.
Really?
And we had a military inspector that came with the whole gig that sits in our QC lab. And that's another thing that sets us apart. Other barrel manufacturers, they may have a nice little warehouse and it's cool, they got some cool machines, but there's no QC lab. We have actual QC people. We have a $500,000, machine that Zeiss built for us as well.
Yeah.
And that inspector sits in there quite often. He's like, oh man, these extensions are great. Too bad we got to trash them all, So then we've transferred, and it's a moral killer, man. It's just a morale killer. Because you would have spent a full week's worth of production on some of these at the beginning till we finally got it to where it's 100% where it needs to be, right? That's another reason why we never have blem sales. We get beat up about that. Oh, why don't you have a blem sale? We trash our blems.
Yeah.
Because we have the OEM mindset. You do OEM work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do OEMs take blems?
No.
Right?
Not
so why
at
should
all.
the customer? So a lot of people try and compare us to other companies. Well, this company's doing blems and that company's doing blems and they blow them out. If they have enough in stock where they can have a blem sale that's ongoing, you should really question what's going on internally. And I don't care what type of cool design they put on the side to justify it. It's just plain fact. You got to think about it. If there's smoke, there's fire. And no knocks. Maybe they're trying to better their craft, but we're not going to have a blem because it doesn't meet our standard.
Yeah.
And then, I believe there's 3 basic types of barrel companies. There's the boutique level order a barrel type brand, where it might be a company that does distribution. and they order up a barrel to their specs from another brand, and they get it delivered. You know, sometimes they're very open about it, and you can obviously tell because there's no background in machining or manufacturing for that brand. Other times are barrel makers that make some portion of the barrel, but they're buying their blanks and their extensions from somewhere else. And that's a problem. That's a problem because when demand goes through the roof like it has this year, and you start seeing a spike in consumer activity, what happens? That barrel maker used to order from one supplier, and now they can't. So they got to order from supplier A, B, and C. So now you start having batch consistency issues. And they may see it, they may not. They may say, you know what, we got to fill these POs anyway, send them. You can't scale that back at that point because there's so many different, it's like a shell game. There's so many different batches out there. If there's a QC issue, they almost can't trace it back to when it happened. So they just have enough on standby that they can send out a new barrel and not even worry about it. And we hear that from customers every now and again. Oh, well, you know, you guys actually tried to walk me through a problem, and you got your engineer on the phone and on email with us and tried to track it. And if it needed, you replace a barrel. Other companies, they'll just replace a barrel. They won't answer the phone. We can track it down to a specific person at the machine because we have many QC stations in between operations. If you look at our facility, and we've invited Recoil out there, Rated Red, which was around for a while. I don't think they're around anymore. We did several facility videos, and it shows a great deal of our operation. It's really broken down into 3 phases. The first phase, we bring in raw steel that comes, you know, 18-wheelers, they dump them off in our warehouse. We chop them down to you know, sizable portions, and then the blank process starts on creating just the blank. That's how serious we take it, because we sell our blanks as well to other barrel makers, right? We run it through the process, and then the process stops right after they're rifled, you know, and a couple other things that we do that are proprietary. And that's a key thing. We have 2 huge heat stress relief ovens that end the first part of the cycle, right? And they're in there for a determined time that they have to be to pull the stress out of the barrel. You got to figure you're cutting into the barrel, you're putting indentations into it, you know, with the button when you're pulling it through. You're adding a lot of stress to the barrel where now it may not be concentric. There may be more run out, you know. Even though we check it along the way, we find that once we throw it in the oven, we pull it out, and now the machining phase starts. It's the truest, you know, barrel that you can find. A lot of folks miss that critical phase, and some folks are taking the blank manufacturer's word on it that they're doing it right. We can control it in-house. We only have ourselves to blame at that point, right? But it's easy for us to track it down. So at that point, on the second half of the operation, after they come out of the oven, we check them for run out, and then we start our profiling, we start threading, we start chambering. You know, it goes all the way to the end. Then we send them out for coating. If they're the bloodline, you know, they're melanited. If they're purebred, they just get bee blasted. Some areas get polished. And then when they come back from coating, we apply the barrel extension, torque it down. Then with a actual CNC machine, we do 2 things. We gas port it, and then we turn 180 degrees, and we do the dimple. And the dimple
thank God
alone,
for the dimple.
you would be surprised, maybe not, how many people buy our barrel just because of that. And then they find out that the performance is there, you know?
Right.
Again, these are things that we did because we are builders and shooters first. And we got sick and tired of these other companies that, you know, would just kind of throw this stuff out into the market and supposedly they're the bee's knees. And simple things like that hadn't been taken into account. Like, how can you have been making barrels for this long and not have noticed this? Well, you don't build your own stuff. And, you know, you see us out there. I'm the marketing sales director for the company, and I'm always out at the range, you know. Our video guy, he's always out at the range with us. The rest of our sales team, you know, and production team, they're always out on the range in their location too, testing stuff. That allows us to always be testing, always be doing product development, QC, and that changes the game. You know, I was at an industry show, a SHOT Show, and ran into an old friend. He told me, you know what, man, you guys actually made barrels cool. Something that was boring. We were having that conversation yesterday. Something that was very boring, you made it cool because you actually put some interest into it. And you start looking at some of the stuff that was done before we came on the scene, and no one was really doing anything. They were just sending product out to some folks that are really cool, and they might have taken some pretty pictures. They might have ran the gun, but there was nothing done with that raw intel. Where does it go? It wasn't being collected. So we do a lot of that internally, and then we have our pro shooters like Aaron, like Duffy, you know, Don Edwards from Greenline Tactical has been with us from like the very beginning. He does a lot of testing for us. He feeds back that info. So that's what you're going to see a lot of, the people that we work with.
Yeah.
Pro
and
shooters,
that's one thing that I really like about Rosco is, you know, it falls very much in line with a lot of our business model. You know, like you said, we take it back to the heart of the gun. You guys did it with the barrels and then the other, you know, important parts, you know, the bolt carrier, the feed ramps, everything. We had the same mindset with magazines. You know, that's our motto is a firearm is only as good as its magazine. So we're talking about two hearts of the gun, and you know that's where the focus needs to come back to. Not, I mean, optics are great, optic mounts are important, rails, receivers, all of that is very important. But when we're actually talking about the heart and soul of a firearm and a weapon that needs to run perfectly every time. You can't get much more basic than that. And like you said, you know, made barrels cool again. And that's a lot of the mindset that we try to do with mags, you know. Like, hey, mags are important, you know. We need to educate people. We need to have a good time and show people, like, this is a product that we really, 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 really care about. You know, it's our life so that it doesn't have to be yours and you don't have to worry about it. But pay a little attention to it, you know, because it is really important. Be a little pickier. You know, make sure you're making the best decision for yourself and your weapon system. And mags are an essential part of that. Don't just go to the bargain bin and grab whatever Tupperware you can find.
And you couldn't have hit the nail better on the head, because you know, I frequent gun stores a lot. You know, not only do we have a lot of dealers and you got to check up on them, but I got to go buy stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and I'd rather keep the business local sometimes. And when I walk in, either to do a transfer or something else, I'll see a bargain bin. You know, and it's every time, you know, it's mags that chances are, yeah, you'll buy them cheap, but then you got to rebuild them in some way. And what's the point? What did you really save in the end?
Yeah. So one of the cornerstones to the way that we do business is we believe in making a product that is not... At the end of the day, mags are a disposable commodity. They're always regarded as that. And you know, we're not blind to the fact that that still holds true. But it doesn't mean that we can't put every effort into making this product last as absolutely long as possible. And some of our mags we consider a lifetime product. You know, our goal is to manufacture or do everything we can to manufacture a product that you buy once, you don't have to throw it away, you don't have to already have a set time to, it's gonna get replaced in a couple of years, I'll spend the same amount of money again. And the goal is to give it to your kids when you're done with it. It stays in the family. Just like the firearm, the barrel, like all of this important things, we want the mags to kind of be on that level too. And that's really important to us. Not only does it have to function great, it's gotta look great too. And, you know, that's why we like, you know, a lot of our hard coat anodizing, but the stainless steel is really where it's at for us. You know, our steel finishing is awesome. It's impeccable. And like you talked about earlier with the blims, I mean, it's heartbreaking to watch all the cosmetic blims. And you know how particular Otto can be. And he goes out there and he doesn't like to see cosmetic issues. And he's just like, trash them all, you know?
And you know what? At the end of the day, that's the choice that the manufacturer makes. I can understand the consumer thoughts, because, you know, same great product, maybe they can get a couple extra pennies off of it. But if the manufacturer's telling you that, hey, look, we don't think this is good enough to be out on the street, you know, you got to trust us on it.
We're the ones putting our name on it, you know, and that, at the end of the day, we get calls, I'm sure you guys get calls too, like, hey, what do you got? Like, what's blimmed, you know, what can you sell off? Hey, put those up on sale. Not going to do it. Like, I got to put our floor plate on these things, and I got to stamp our cage code into it. I was like, that's not a perfect magazine. It's not going to go out and have the word, this is a blemish magazine on it. Don't judge it, you know?
and with us, you know, we really stand behind our warranty policy, you know? And that's why we get so technical on things, because we want to make sure there's a lot of variables, and this applies to you as well. There's a lot of variables when someone's building their own stuff. And of course, the mag and the barrel are the two that get blamed the absolute most. So, you know, we have to be technical about things, and that's helped us because we're so involved in the whole process. But we stand behind, you know, if it really comes down to, hey, you know, something happened. Yeah. And we got to take care of it.
And that's
we'll
okay.
stand behind it.
I mean, I thoroughly, I'm sure you probably handle a lot of the same things that I handle too, is I thoroughly enjoy, and I'm sure people don't think this, but I thoroughly enjoy working with customers. If somebody calls me up and they're having an issue, boom, that's my day. That's like, you are my work for the day. Like, I'm gonna stop everything else that I'm doing because that customer's satisfaction is important to me. If they call me up and they say, hey, I just bought 2 of these mags, my gun isn't running right, I wanted to start with you guys and figure out what's going on. Cool, let's dive into everything. What's the barrel like? What kind of measurement equipment do you have? You know, give me all the information you can. Let's dive into it. If the mags are the problem, I need to do my due diligence and eliminate all the other variables and make sure, let's make sure the mag is either working or not working. And a lot of the times we take like our QC mags. I keep those, they're on record, they've already been recorded. Like, these are triple tested. They're the ones that went to the live fire range. They're, you know, the lot test. Here's all the details. Here's everything. I give the customer, hey, here's all the specs, and I'm sending you this mag. This is a known perfect mag that had this many cycles through it of this type of ammo. You know, like if it's a 5.56, we hold them to the same standard. They got to run 5.56 and 300, subsonic, full auto, everything. So I send that out and I'm just like, hey, check this mag. Check it against what you've got going on. And we try and work and you know, I mean, what else are we going to use the QC mags for? But I'm sure I'm going to get a lot more calls now. Because like, oh, I'm going to get a free mag. I've got big issues, man.
And the thing is, you know, we've spent a lot of time, we were talking about this yesterday, we've spent a lot of time and energy on a pretty well-versed frequently asked questions page. You know, so we urge folks to check that part out of the website first, because a lot of the information is going to be on there. And if for whatever reason we're tied up on another line and you can't get through, you know, we do get a lot of calls, guys. Keep that in mind. We'll get emails. Oh, you guys didn't pick up the phone today. It's because there was one guy answering the phone who also fills orders, and there were like 30 calls coming in. And sometimes it's very silly little things that come in, but we still treat every call like it's, you know, an important one. So we try and help those people out. But in that FAQs page, we're always going to try and encourage folks to seek a gunsmith in their area that can help them put these things together.
Absolutely.
You know, there's a lot of torque values that you have to take into account, not just on the barrel nut, on the gas block. You know, when you're timing muzzle devices, that's a thing. You know, there's a lot of things that have to be taken into account when building a well-balanced firearm. And for those that don't have access to gunsmiths, that's why we started offering the URGs as well, because we'll bear the burden at that point. But the flip side to that coin, a lot of folks that have not tooled themselves up correctly and may not have attended the proper course, you know, to be deemed a suitable armor. You know, there's some situations where we're like, you know, we can't warranty that, but we're going to try and help you.
Exactly.
However we can. Look, we'll give you a one-time, you know, employee price on a barrel or whatever they kind of messed up. But let us help you kind of diagnose what you did wrong, and then please go to a gunsmith. That's the only catch. Go to a gunsmith and tell them this is what happened to the last one, because there may be other underlying issues with that build now that we can't diagnose and troubleshoot over the phone, that a gunsmith having it in front of him is going to be able to say, okay, there's actually more going on here.
Yeah,
you know?
I think that's it's a blessing and it's kind of a curse, and I think it's one thing that's been really great about the abundance of so many brands and so many parts in our industry, and just like there are so many great things about the AR-15 and the platform, and it can be made 10 million different ways. But that has another side to it. These aren't Legos. These are guns, and these are firearms that work in a very specific way and have to run absolutely right. And I see it day after day after day of guys that are doing kitchen builds, and we're all guilty of doing kitchen builds, but it's all about the level of knowledge, you know, or, you know, advice that you're being given. And when your kitchen build doesn't run right, you know, it's kind of like, take it to a professional. And we get a lot of guys that call, I'm sure you do too, like, where did I go wrong? And I don't know. I don't have your gun. Like, you show me a video, show me photos, show me everything you can. Let me help you. And it becomes a bit of an obsession because, you know, it's, I don't know about you, but I kind of tunnel vision. I'm like, I gotta help this guy. He's my priority. Like,
no, of course.
He needs his stuff running right, and it's important.
it gets to a point where you also diagnose the fact that this person should not be touching that gun in that fashion. And sometimes it comes down to proper tooling. You know, there's a job for every tool. There's a tool for every job. I'm very adamant about that. And you've been to my garage where I build all my stuff. You know, I'm very OCD in the way I have my tools laid out, everything. But to be properly tooled up to build these correctly, you got to be somewhere in the 200s, $300 range for tools. Some people don't take that into account.
All right, man. So manufacturing, all those differences aside, tell me about Barrel Gang. All right, hit me with all that info.
That's actually pretty funny and cool story. So the original crew that started with Rosco, right, myself and a couple other folks that I work with over here in South Florida side, we started spearheading not just a lot of the media that we had to do at the beginning, but a lot of the testing. You know, full auto testing, suppressor testing, all this other stuff. So every time we'd put out a video, the consumers, and like I said before, we have a pretty good rapport with our followers and customers. They're like, oh, look, the Barrel Gang's at it again. So, you know, because Gucci Gang had come out at that time. So it was just like perfect, you know, everything was like Gang Gang or Gucci Gang. They're like, oh, look, the Barrel Gang. And you're like, we'll wear it. But, you know, the main reason why we're always out there was we wanted to make sure that we weren't just pushing something that we needed to sell. You know, because there tends to be this form of complacency when you're a company man, right? The product could be absolute garbage, but you just want to sell it. You want to shake your head. You want to make the boss happy, right? I can tell you right here, right now, I've probably pissed off my boss more than anybody else that he's ever hired. I know he's regretted hiring me. But no, it's just to keep a very open and honest conversation with the production team and your QC team.
Yeah.
Not to just bob your head and be like, yes, you know, they would do what they did internally. They would send their stuff down here. The reason why we built the full auto that we have is, and we used nothing but choice components, you know, Geisley Rails, Voltor, we teamed up with them, you know, and used nothing but...
Take all the variables out.
Exactly. Yeah. And we just beat the living tar out of the guns that we built. Full auto, suppressed fire, exhaustive range days, and, you know, a lot of us have different backgrounds. We don't use it as a starter because you don't need to know if I was on ABC, whatever I did, in order to sell you a barrel. Right. So that didn't matter for us. So
what's important is the work that we're doing now. Not our history, not our story. Like that's our personal lives.
And sometimes, you know, a resume has a shelf life. What you did 10, 12 years ago, how is that relevant now? But the reason why I say that is because we still come to the range to train aggressively, you know, and we're doing a lot of that from 2017, you know, until last year. We're coming out to the range as often as possible. Real Dirty Harry is part of the Barrel Gang, you know, as you saw in the Barrel Gang event that we put together. And that's where that idea came from. And a lot of folks started identifying with that because they liked, again, seeing people from the company actually testing products for a purpose.
Yeah.
And then we started surrounding ourselves with like-minded people that we saw beating the tar out of their guns and their products, and you know, not just the rest of the Barrel Gang, but other companies. And I feel that that's why we get along so well, because I know you guys do a lot of aggressive testing, a lot of peculiar testing from what you're telling me. But so what do you guys do as far as testing or trying to push the envelope for product development?
So one of the big things, obviously, a good example, like our 5.56 mags. You know, we've got the Speed line, which is our improved USGI aluminum stuff, and then we've got our SS, which are our stainless steel. To us, that's the lifetime product. But on those mags, you know, we get a lot of questions like, well, do they work for 300? Which mags do I need for 300 blackout? And I say, any 5.56 magazine that we put out onto the market is held to the exact same standard for 300 blackout as it is for 5.56. And I'm talking full auto, suppressed, heavy, 220 plus grain ammunition being run in a variety of different builds. Also manipulation testing. When I go out and do lot testing every other day, and it's just like, these mags have to be run, they have to be QC'd, they have to be live fired. Even though we QC at every single stage of production, from stamping to pre-welding, post-welding, all of that good stuff. Even the bagger has their own like set of tools and gauges before they put a mag into the bag.
Very cool.
But it's that extra level. It's like, hey, here's all the documentation. We took this out to the range. We did a full manipulation test, meaning that mag got ran with this ammo variable grain weights, variations in uppers and firearms, and we manipulated that mag in every direction that we possibly could: front, back, twist, left, right, clockwise. You know, any possible pressure that you can put or force against that mag, trying to get it to fail. That's what we set out to do. And every mag has to go through that. You know, every lot of magazines. I'm not shooting every single mag. I don't have the life for that, or the bone structure anymore. But man, I mean, it's important to us because, like you said earlier, you know, we're putting our name on this product, and I'm the guy that has to talk to the customer and work with him when he isn't feeling super confident about what's going on in his entire weapon system. I need to know that we did our due diligence, and you know, that's important to us. I mean, we put quality control into our tooling. Mm-hmm. So, say for instance, our post and hole design. It's a really, really aggressive locking system that comes straight out of our progressive die tooling. And we use progressive die tooling because it's the same every time. It doesn't matter who operated it on what day and how they were feeling. There's no stages to it. Every time that press comes down, it pumps out 2 mated pairs of a magazine. And they are immediately snapped together, gauge tested, pass or fail. You know, and then so on and so forth from there. For the welding, all of our welding is robotic. So we have an operator that sits at the station. Their only focus is making sure before it's welded, they check it, they gauge it, they test all the concavity and everything, put it in, they press it, make sure everything's good, they put it on a belt. As they're putting that one on a belt, another one's coming out that went through welding, and they run through the exact same process again. Just do all the same points. Make sure that nothing changed in the welder. Make sure that the robots didn't twist it or something like that. You never know. So that's important for us. And that takes a huge, huge variable. And we feel that if you do all the proper work along the way, once it gets out to the customer, they can feel confident that every time they open up that bag, they're going to get a fully guaranteed product for life. And even down the road after they've used, I have people that call me up all the time. They're like, hey man, I ran a couple thousand rounds through this suppressed. We were out hog hunting and, you know, this happened. You know, obviously, you know, I had one guy, he's like, I left this mag out forever and we were running it like this and there was a failure in it. I was like, cool, let's not even mess with it. Just send it to me. Let me worry about it. I'll just replace it. I'll send you 2 for the one that you're sending me. Just take care of it. Yeah. I mean, that guy spent his hard-earned money on us. The least we can do is make sure that he has the hard use equipment that he's trusted for so long.
Well, now you've gained his trust.
Exactly.
You know, so it's a smart play.
It's not
to work hard.
Yeah.
You know, it just blows my mind sometimes when you see manufacturers purposely trying to cut corners. You know, and trying to just go straight through, and it's a smart play to work hard. Mm-hmm. Your product rarely comes back. The ones that are in circulation, people are loving. I mean, it's very easy to say, well, why doesn't everybody do that, right? I can understand certain people have limitations, but then don't offer certain products.
Yeah.
I don't know. But we do the same before every barrel goes out, which I love that you guys said that, because we air gauge every barrel, chamber bore and groove.
Yeah.
We also bore scope it. We put it on the on one of the machines to check for run out. We check the threads. We check everything, and then they go into a box.
Yeah.
And
that's
most
the
of the time
difference.
They just go straight out for an. We don't have enough ample stock right now. Sometimes just have a warehouse full of barrels. You know, that's
what I really like about a company like this, that I mean I can trust. And people will ask us all the time, and you see it on the groups, you see it on the forums. They're like, well, it's the same, or, you know, upper receivers or barrels are the same. You know, if it shoots great, it's a good barrel. It's not so much true. And they're like, well, why do I want to pay this much for X brand and when I can pay half for Y brand? And it's all about the work by the operators and the manufacturers that are done. Mm-hmm. It's about the cost of tooling and the cost of the quality control tooling and the gauging and having the proper things and that education. You know, there's a difference between Y Factory having a assembler and X Factory having an actual armorer or somebody who knows that barrel and took it from start to finish. You know, and they're going to check each individual thing and they're going to put their name on it.
It's the same reason why you pay a Mercedes what it's worth, you know? A Mercedes already carries a name. You know that you're going to get a certain type of engineering with it. you know, and I mean, buy once, cry once. But I have to be honest, one of the things that we're pretty proud of, because of the fact that we do all the other stuff in-house, like I was mentioning earlier, we've been able to reduce our costs because our product hasn't already been stepped on twice. Right?
It gives you more control, too.
It does. So and I see it every now and again on same, you know, forums and these closed gun groups where people have actually said, man, Rosco's kind of moderate price barrel game is very strong right now because I'm going toe-to-toe with some big name manufacturers that are selling some of their duty grade barrels at $300. Oh, well, they've been lapped and chrome lined and they've done this and they've done that. And they're probably great, but why am I... At the end of the day, the proof is on paper.
Right.
You know, and ADM was always very good about this. They'd bring us the results. So why is it that, you know, our $160 barrel is holding 3/4 MOA on some of their law enforcement demos? You know, so that just tells us that we're doing everything that we can to work with some of these bigger names, but we're not gonna. We're gonna charge you what we feel is fair because we've saved money, so we're gonna save you money in return because we have absorbed that cost of manufacturing and have regulated it to where it's manageable for everybody. So our dealers are gonna get a discount, and you're gonna get one, and that's why we enforce MSRP and MAP so much between our dealer network. You know. We want to make sure that everybody's on the same page and everybody's saving money.
But at the end of the day, what's really important and what it all comes down to is our life is making sure that the customer who spent their hard-earned money or the person that's working that gun professionally can depend their life depends on it. And that goes same true for the commercial market. But it's making sure that the consumer base has a product that they can believe in and that they're happy because that's our life, man. I mean, they are the reason that we do what we do, and they're the reason that we, you know, take home a paycheck at all. You know, they are the most important thing, and you know, in your case, they're the barrel gang, and I think that's what's so great about it.
I wholeheartedly agree.
It's a great thing for you guys to show what you're doing, but it's also really great for the consumer because if they're a customer of yours, they are the barrel gang. And to me, that's great because our industry needs more inclusion. It needs more people feeling like they're a part of something. And, you know, when you get people that are so, I've never seen an industry where people are so brand loyal for no reason. When you give them a special product that they really have actual reasons to believe in and something to actually be a part of and actually be a part of the club, to me, that's really important. And there's just something so special about that.
We are very privileged to work in an industry that's two things. It's kind of a hobby industry because a lot of people do this, you know, as a hobby.
There's so many different levels
and everything else, right? But no matter what area you come in, whether it's hunting, tactical, professional shooting, whatever, it is culture driven. And especially in this industry rings true, people are very tribe minded, right?
Yeah.
They see a tribe that identifies with them and vice versa, and they go with it. And that's what the barrel game has turned into, you know, and we couldn't be happier because, I mean, this is like a happy accident.
Yeah.
And we're just smart enough to kind of keep it going. So, you know, people are going crazy. We want barrel game stickers, we want shirts, we want hats, we want this, we want that. And seeing how we've focused so much energy on the product, we've kind of fallen behind on the swag. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, it's all right.
There's some cool stuff we're working on.
You're talking to a company that literally doesn't have stickers or merch or any sort of anything.
You don't think about it, right? You don't think about it. But
I got
then,
so much to do.
Even the hat that I wear is just like employee gear. And people are like, I want the hat, you know, and okay, we'll make it.
All right, man. Here,
take
this
But it's so cool, though, to get that type of reaction, though. It's humbling. It's humbling because people like your work. And they've at least identified that you're doing something right. And to me, that means a lot because people are happy because of what we're doing.
Yeah. See, we're proud of it because we put our name on it.
Right.
But it's something totally different when you've got somebody that you just met that believes in your product and they want to put your name on them or something that they own. They're just like, I'm so proud
they want to be part of the team.
What you have. And they're just like, they're happy to be a part of it. And to me, that's just, there's something so heartwarming about that. It feels really good.
It is. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, man.
Pretty cool. Well, so if you want, man, I brought some stuff for us to test out. It was a regular range day for me, so I set up some drills on the range. I think we're going to do a shooting on the move kind of V drill. We may do a box drill after that, and then a modified Navy qual if you're down.
Cool. Yeah, let's shake it up, man. All right, so if it's cool with you, I'm gonna take the 13.7 purebred URG to work, and we'll see what we can make happen with Duramag and Rosco.
Let's do it.
All right.